for 425. 1711 CED for 425. And 1811 Public Works Property Vacation for May 9th.
If we go back to 8610 for just a second, the
Yes,
two
ma'am.
pages that have the changes that were requested by Mayor Levy, if you make the motion to accept the substitute bill as amended, you can do it all in one motion.
Okay. We'll be good to go then.
Which one is that, 86?
8610.
Well, we finally got that 1511 coming up on there. On Old Cleveland Road, that kid. That kid whose garage blew down and the snow took it down. He wants to rebuild it there. He's got to get a special
Oh, okay.
exception for first coming out.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's amending the zoning. I went out there and met with him a couple weeks ago. He said you would talk to him.
Oh, okay, yeah,
He
yeah,
told
yeah,
him to see
yeah. Yep.
Augustino or something.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, just a heads up, has Buell been in touch, Chuck Buell been in touch with anybody? They're looking at their fees to make the business has been down, so their revenues have been down and they're trying to sustain their department. They're gonna come forward with some improved fee schedules, proposals.
That's first reading tonight.
It's
that
first
we're
reading
taking over
tonight, so that's what this is going to.
Do you have a sense of what they're going to look like? or
It sounded to me
percentage?
like it didn't sound like, they're taking these buildings and they're doing them on maybe this kind of building, that kind, they're doing them on a per square foot basis. They're trying to relate it to how many times they have to make a trip out, because some buildings they can make one trip out, and when they close the walls, and then they're final, and another one they might have to make 8 or 10, and they're trying to make the ones that require 8 or 10 trips. That was the explanation I received at the time. If that's what they're doing, it makes sense to me.
And that threshold is going to fall over to some of the new fees that we'll be putting through Tom's committee and Karen's committee on fire for inspection.
Oh, okay.
We'll be busy this year. Thanks.
Bridges of poverty.
All right.
Oh, that's, yeah.
You had to go there, speak on transit.
And
I still want my
talked to Chris
personal
Baker,
tour, Oliver.
and as far as rescue, water rescue, he's telling me all the money they're saving through the new equipment and everything, and they can do more, and they can do it better, and they can do it cheaper.
Who's this?
At Chris Baker Fire Department. And I told him to send us something giving us the money that, you know, the information about saving money. Because he could use it, in fact, when we look at the fee schedule for the fire department, because he would be able to slide it in there by saying, and this is more money the fire department has.
Maybe we could
been
reduce
saving.
those fees.
Huh.
What fees are you talking about?
Huh?
I didn't hear. We should be charging $500 I just got what kind of fee you're charging, but I wrote a proposal about 20 years ago for $500 a car. So that's
Like
lying
at
there
the,
right now.
at the firefighters
Taking a
retirement
car out of the
thing.
river, putting
And,
divers, a boat in there.
But he
Why don't we
was
do it?
roasting every, you know.
Well, I got a better question.
And,
Why do we do it, not Mishawaka? Or shouldn't someone contribute something? You do it for
You are
Mishawaka.
required to get it by state law, by DNR. You have to get the owner.
Oh, okay, why?
And what I'd say is you would pull it out, you bill the insurance company of the vehicle.
Absolutely.
And sometimes these cars are stolen, though, and that's catch-22, and they don't get that.
That's like ambulance runs.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're insured and sometimes they're not. Mostly they're not. Although I suspect most of the runs on football weekends are insured. But it's,
You do get medicated.
did you see?
Oh, you do?
Oh, yeah, did you see?
they didn't ask you any of that
They
stuff.
almost asked the same question they asked the
chickens.
mayor.
The capital
They didn't ask the
fund.
mayor on Saturday about chickens.
The X-Bot chickens.
pretty,
We talking about chickens in here, that we're supposed to.
that's,
Oh, did you know?
some animals
Oh,
are
we're supposed to.
run all the time.
That's right.
I'm not talking, I'm just
Cash?
how much cash.
Yeah, but that's where
Are we
that comes
supposed
from.
to, at this
Amber
time,
generated
make sure there's
revenue.
consensus to move forward with
About Popeyes.
We're the crisis stage. We will be calling overtime.
About- that's
I know something about chickens, and it's very important if you have your own chickens.
What's that?
Failing.
You can take those eggs from the chickens and just leave them sitting on the table.
What would happen?
Actually, don't.
Nothing, just like the hen, when the
No,
hen,
we always run almost
their
every
hen doesn't refrigerate them. They've got a protective coverage
Except the rescue truck.
until they get to the people who check them all for double yolks and stuff.
I'm serious.
And they
It's out there.
scrub that covering off. But until then, those eggs don't have to be refrigerated. So just in case, you know,
Probably.
if you
However,
forget to go to the nest in the
no,
morning,
right
you
there.
go in the evening,
However,
the eggs are
however,
okay.
So make sure we
the
take care of
fires are
that.
much more
Right.
dangerous
So you have to get
now.
all the-
And that, you can go right
I
now
know
to
you're not
the
advocating
website.
for it.
for
No,
National
it's
Institute.
one of those issues.
There's more petroleum-based products within a room than there was 10 years ago. Flashovers occurring, so it's more dangerous to the guys going in to fight the fire. Therefore, you've got to fill
No,
more
you can be able to
vessels
eat
and bring
a lot
She
more.
would be barking, and then I get a loud red
Therefore,
noise ticket.
No, she get to eat.
The ability to provide.
They don't enforce loud noise ordinance on the
Does
west
it make a
side.
difference if we're providing fire services to 100,000?
They would if I called.
When you get the inroad into it, because I need a 700 block of Hewitt if you're taking care of it.
You know what, sometimes they
I keep
do
getting
do
calls,
that by that
so-
because there's more
And then they
calls
call
generated.
several shift supervisors, they even warn them about that.
But distance is a big
Nothing's
one
happening.
I
too.
gotta get
That's
this
what I ride.
hill from
Here,
town.
That's my whole guy.
geographic area.
Right, you should ride me, because it's not getting
At
done.
some point in time.
Huey,
See, we don't- we don't-
And that's a
700
classic
Hewitt.
example of how because there's as many high schools.
No, I'm not riding with the mobile
today
today.
as we had 20
It's interesting to ride with them.
Yes, John Nash.
Okay.
That's fine, but I want to do the show.
And so I'm
Just
trying to
doesn't
And it's a
count
tough
when
decision.
Janice
I
rides
understand
the
that.
machine.
you know, has a
But
lot of
that's the
students.
job that
Oh,
people
I
have.
can't imagine.
And they ask for it, and then they don't do it.
There to talk, and see how they do that. So
We
you
have
have to
as
say
many
the same
staff.
That's what I mean, you would,
Because
you know,
Notre Dame has a different contract.
We have,
Okay.
Notre Dame,
No,
yeah,
it's
Notre
twice.
Dame, they
It was beyond-
Notre
we
Dame
have twice-
students,
we have half as many
faculty,
students.
and St. Mary's students, and,
They pay a certain,
and it's just, at some point in time.
we have a lot of international.
Here's a stat
students.
for you, Mishawaka went to a third AMBO because of the amount of runs that their pipelines to.
Oh, wait a minute, is this where the Mishawaka versus South?
They say definitely not Rooster.
Mishawaka went to a third
And
AMBO.
people go Walt Park bill, it ain't my bill, that's their bill. We try and empower people to
that
second district.
individually make more runs than both those ambos had.
Well, we farming again.
I like to be a top,
They do.
regardless, I like regular houses.
Actually, I think we should probably
More of those are
support,
popular.
more animals. We should probably support more animals.
What's the whole,
It provides a
Salvation,
revenue in excess of
Army
the cost of
main
the
building,
guys.
they have a community guard across the
She's
street.
kind of projected out.
Yeah, they're getting,
Quite a bit of revenue.
there's some number
Find out
already,
county ambos or
reported to the
Mishawaka
and
ambos
it's like
grab
18 or.
This past weekend, they had a lot of people.
Yeah.
Right, and
Using that
that's,
revenue
yeah, and
from that
that's,
Fifth
there
Avenue.
again, that's just like, that becomes a legitimate concern, so long as you can grow it and then sustain it.
But our neighborhood decided to use
If you just
the
grow it
old,
because it's out there, but you don't have a plan to get it.
recycling bins, the little things, you know.
All you've done is added a
And
staff and expense and
I
everything else
planted
without
marguerites because
achieving
Marguerite does not
the,
garden.
you know, the desired result.
And I planted the guy across the street
Go water down.
and everything died.
Thought I brought one.
And mine was fine in the backyard. Well,
Is that the one there, is that the one
it
that Derek
holds
was looking
water
at?
and it rots.
Y'all, excuse me, fellow council members, well, we're gonna take this vote so we can move on with the chicken stuff.
Oh, yeah, I mean, you can bring forward I honestly, I have not had one person in my district
Oh, right.
Say
say anything about it. I've talked to Mike Coleman.
No, but what I'm saying, procedurally, we're supposed to take a
You said
vote.
That's
yes.
a nice guy, Tim, isn't it?
I'll
You can
go
do it
with
here.
it.
Well, there gets to be
Just for the
president.
sake of doing it.
No, the vice
not
president.
Necessarily.
Yeah,
Vice
There's
president.
right there. No, I was just saying, as
Need
far
like a
as
red
purposes
shirt.
of having,
Rachel kind of stuff.
Henry wants to take a quick vote for the whole council on pursuing.
Let's go for it.
Okay.
This is just all
Just
right.
like
Procedurally.
Procedurally.
Quick, chick, chick, whatever.
I think it's
right.
gender discrimination.
All right, I'll write the letter.
Roosters.
Oh.
I've been concerned with the roosters. They had a meeting with me this morning.
People are saying no roosters.
I had some good follow-up stuff, but
But we're learning that it's all being recorded, aren't we?
We're good? Is it on now? Okay.
Write the letter.
That's what I thought.
It doesn't go off.
It's on the master.
I've been endorsed by the roosters.
Here's John saying.
In fact, they would work with the chickens to vote me out if I
Henry's
don't
got the
finish.
hens, and you've got the roosters.
So. Got some roosters in order to get my vote.
You guys good? No? No. We should just, take these out. Now we're good? The Monday, April 11, 2011 Southwind Common Council is now in session. I'll rise for the invocation by Father Porterfield.
Let us bow our heads and pray for God's blessing. Come, Holy Spirit, fill the hearts of your faithful and kindle in us the fire of your love. Send forth your Spirit, and you shall be created, and you will renew the face of the earth. God, who by the light of the Holy Spirit instructs the hearts of your faithful, grant that in this same Holy Spirit we may be truly wise in all of our deliberations that affect the residents, the citizens of South Bend. May we ever rejoice in your consolation. Lord, all justice and all goodness comes from you. Make our lives blameless. Help us to do what is right, to speak what is true, that we may dwell in your tent and rest on your holy mountain. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Vorty, read that roll.
Mr. Henry Davis.
Henry's here.
Mr. LaFountain. Here. Mrs. Puzzello.
Present?
Dr. Varner.
Present.
Vice President Oliver Davis.
Present.
Mr. Kursitz.
Present.
Councilmember Rouse.
Present.
Councilmember White.
Present.
President Dieter.
Present.
9 present.
Thank you. Report from the Subcommittee on Minutes.
To the Common Council of the City of South Bend, the subcommittee has inspected the minutes of the March 28, 2011 meeting of the council and found them to be correct. Therefore, we recommend the same be approved. Signed, Derek Dieter, David Varner.
Move the minutes be approved as read.
So moved. Give me a second.
A motion to second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Any special business before this council? Seeing none. Reports of city offices. This is to be a report by Catherine Topple, Director of Code Enforcement. This will be a report. Any questions that anyone has from the crowd or the council may be directed to her via phone or email at a later date. This will just be a report from her.
Good evening, Council. Mr. President. Catherine Topple, Director of Code Enforcement, offices on the 13th floor of this building. May I approach to hand out copies? Unfortunately, we are still minus a cord for the PowerPoint, but I did bring enough copies. Thank you. If we could all turn to page 2. What we're all here for today is the vacant abandoned property update, and probably the most important information that the council is looking for at this time is at the end of 2010, beginning of 2011, Department of Code Enforcement inspectors made another count of vacant and abandoned properties within the city of South Bend. That count equals to 1,645 vacant and abandoned properties. You might recall previously in 2006, the inspectors had performed this inspection as well, and at that time there were 621 properties what we would consider vacant and abandoned. As a reminder, vacant and abandoned is vacant for more than 90 days, needing code enforcement repairs. This does not include your typical properties that might be for sale or for rent. Now, code enforcement addresses vacant properties through a number of ways, and first and foremost are our code enforcement hearings that we hold upstairs on the 13th floor, through demolitions, through civil penalties, and as the council is aware, also through vacant property registration. Page 3. Regarding the code enforcement hearings, I have outlined some time frame from January 2007 to December 2010. As the council is aware, the council, along with the mayor, introduced the vacant property program in July of 2007. That is why I'm using those dates. In that time, code enforcement has had 3,638 hearings on structures. Now, that might be sometimes the same property, sometimes different structures on a property. That's individual hearings. Now, we have increased our hearings since July 2007. Previously, we held 5 hearings a month. We averaged 15 properties on each hearing. We are currently holding 7 hearings a month. That allows for an additional 180 properties to be heard in a hearing process each year. We had 2,242 repair hearings, 1,132 demolition hearings, 264 continuing maintenance hearings. The continuing maintenance hearings, that is requiring vacant property registration. And with those hearings, 825 civil penalties had been assessed on the tax bills. A lot of people ask, why aren't you doing more demolition? We do have standards for demolition that code enforcement must meet prior to us just demolishing a vacant and abandoned property in the city of South Bend. Our inspectors will actually go out in the field and perform a housing inspection. And in that housing inspection, we have a ratings program that we use, and we're going to determine whether that structure is sound, which needs only normal maintenance, sound needing minor repair, substandard deterioration needing major repair, or substandard dilapidated needs demolition. And you can see the definition is the dwelling no longer provides safe and adequate shelter and could potentially endanger the health, safety, and well-being of the occupants. What we are enforcing is South Bend Municipal Code Chapter 6, which adopts the Indiana Unsafe Building Law 36-7-9-5. What, in essence, that law states is the condition has to warrant the action. Now, I can tell you that we can do a demolition if the property is not going to be fixed. However, that is our absolute last resort. Generally, that property will sit there and we will be attempting to find the owner, which we do by certified mail, and working with the owner and or potential purchaser to get the property repaired. It's my understanding the council was interested in our before and after demolition standard operating procedures. That's a little difficult in that we don't go out in the field and say, okay, we want to demolish these structures. When we go out in the field, we're inspecting the structure to see what action is warranted with that structure. Is it going to be a repair? Is it going to be a demolition? However, if we do find that a demolition is warranted, our department will issue a demolition order. At that time, the order is scheduled for a hearing before the administrative hearing officer. The hearing officer can either affirm our order, modify it, or deny it. If he affirms the order for demolition, then we will set that property up for bid. Once the structure is demolished, the costs are placed as a lien on the property. Most importantly, which I find that a lot of people do not realize, is the city does not take ownership of these properties. These properties do remain privately owned and are still remaining on the tax rolls. Now, in July of 2007, when the vacant property program was introduced, we had 161 properties with affirmed demolitions. We currently have 312 properties with affirmed demolitions. That's in addition to the 494 demolitions that code enforcement has overseen since July of 2007. And there is a graph there to give you an indication. You know, we started in July of 2007 with 50 demolitions. In 2008 was 118. 2009 was 185. My key's not there, I apologize. And then 2010 was 141. So far in 2011, we have awarded bids for 15 residential demolitions. Recently, through the Board of Works, we awarded bids for 8 commercial demolitions with 2 potential in the future. Next page is our vacant abandoned property registration, which took effect in 2008. In that time, 2008, we had 6 registrations filed with our department. 2009 was only 100. 2010 was only 74, and so far this year we have 22, and actually as of this morning it was 36. We just recently got a bundle in the mail. As I have mentioned over time to the council, enforcement of that program had become difficult. We were running into software obstacles. With the installation of new laptops for the inspectors at the end of this week, that should no longer be a problem. And in addition to that, I would also like to mention that City Clerk John Vorty has been gracious enough to allow the assistance of Winona in the department to help me with this registration enforcement. She's been doing some databases for me. The handhelds that the inspectors previously held, there were software obstacles in of itself with those handhelds, something that unfortunately nobody was aware of, even the software company, until after we had them. And finally, our focus and direction. Clearly, we need to expedite our administrative process. This will be done through the inspector's use of our laptops. This Friday is when they will be taking ownership of those. They will be able to access all the real-time data on their laptops. They do come with wireless cards, in addition to the registration process for the vacant properties. We want to expedite the length of time to clean and cut a property. Last year, going into the fall, we had a very rainy season, so we had fallen behind. Additional equipment had been purchased at the fall of last year, so we do have additional crews out. In addition, we started the continuous enforcement process. Excuse me. This process allows one notification to a property for an environmental violation, such as trash, tall grass. We go through the hearing process. We order continuous enforcement through the hearing officer, and that provides proper service by certified mail and/or publication. We will no longer have to notify that property owner and/or interested parties of any future similar violations while they have ownership. So this, we envision, is going to speed up the process immensely, because at that time what we would do is just hand an address over to Parks Department and/or Solid Waste, so they could put it on their schedule while they're out in the field. In addition, not to mention the cost savings on postage alone, we'll have some upfront costs, but currently we have to notify somebody of every violation every time it occurs. So our hope is to speed up the entire process for cutting especially. We do continue to participate in state and national conferences. The National Vacant Property Conference, I have attended 2 of those. That's an important conference in that deals strictly with vacant properties across the nation. This has become such a problem that they felt it was important to bring everybody together. The first conference had 1,600 participants. The second conference, 900. Last year, is my understanding, which I could not attend, and there was over 1,200 participants. Also, the National Property Preservation Conference. That conference is put on by the service providers for the mortgage companies. For example, they'll hire this company to maintain their properties while they're vacant. I was actually asked to participate in a panel last year at that conference, and actually because of that conference and all the contacts that I made, we were able to rectify some problems with some of the service providers that we have in our city. The American Association of Code Enforcement Conference, that's exactly what it is. It's a national conference based on code enforcement. And any regional and state conferences such as IACT. I can tell you that one of the property preservation companies will be bringing a regional conference to our city soon. And once that's worked out, we certainly want the council to participate in that we will be concentrating on vacant properties. And that's what I have for my report today. It was hard to put this down into 10 minutes. I can actually talk for hours about vacant properties. So I would be more than happy to discuss this at greater length and bring all of the information that I have with regards to our vacant properties, let alone any other programs that are operating in other municipalities nationwide.
All right, thank you very much.
Point of order and clarity, Council President Dieter. Really quick, I would like to ask procedurally, how do we handle these report of city offices when a person such as Catherine Topple or any department head comes before the council and you setting rules before the actual report? Because in past practices, we've been able to have some sort of communication with the presenter versus today, and I want to know how do we continue to set these meetings so that we can make sure that we have the communication that we deserve as council people and those from the public when there is a report versus waiting till later on to contact Ms. Topple and whomever else who will present before the council.
A report of city officers is that they report on their department. If there's questions or other things that you need or anyone from the public may need, that can be done by contacting her.
What past practices is what I'm getting at, and what I'm concerned about is because the last few that have come before council and has delivered an address to the council, we've had opportunity to ask a couple questions about things that we may not understand in the presentation, and that's my question. I'm not asking her for anything right now, but I'm asking you, by you setting the rules and standards before the person presents, do we set the rules and standards before each and every time?
I don't believe we've had any.
Or is that written down somewhere so that we have the ability to ask during the course of the presentation? I don't find it to be fair that one person gets grilled and the next person doesn't.
Well, this isn't to grill anyone, and it's past practice that it's just a report.
So do we carry on next person or next department that comes before us? Do we set the same rules and standards, or do we go back to, revert back to the first person who came in or first department that came in?
Like I mentioned earlier, a report of the city office is just that. Someone comes and reports.
Well, what I'm asking you for is that what we're going to do each and every time? Because there's
Absolutely.
no consistency. There's no consistency is what I'm saying.
Well, there is consistency now, and that's what it'll be.
So can we have a matter of record with the city clerk that each time we have a report for city offices that we do not ask questions at all? That we do not, when there is a report, rather than, you know, assuming that we're going to be able to discuss matters over the council floor?
Well, that was prefaced by me when we started that, so.
Do we need a vote on that?
This matter was discussed at the 6:45 meeting, and there was no objection by any council member at that point.
And since
It was
been,
then announced again prior to Ms. Topple's presentation.
but since it's been raised, do we need to have a vote on that just to get that on the record?
It's not necessary. It's up to the council if you want to. You can overrule the chair by a majority of the council if you so desire.
Okay.
Well, I would particularly like to vote on that because I think that Catherine did a great job of reporting the vacant and abandoned property within the update, but that's not all of your job, and that's not all your department's job. You deal with illegal dumping and so many other different things that, you know, we could actually ask questions about or be afforded an opportunity to talk about on this particular matter or at this time, and we're not being, obviously not given that chance today. So I would either like to make sure that this is a standard that's being set procedurally as a council, and it's nothing against you. It's just procedurally how we set our meetings and how we go about them. And I'm not challenging anyone. I'm just making sure that we're consistent and clear on what we do each and every time that we have a report from city office. So I think that it deserves a vote.
Councilmember Davis, in the past, again, not this year, but prior calendar years, if there are issues that come up during a report of city offices, the proper council committee then takes the initiative to have meetings scheduled on that so that you can have an in-depth discussion. This is not a point in the meeting where there would be a debate back and forth on a particular issue. It's just to receive an update on a particular topic.
Okay, any further?
So the question that is before this council, and based on what we've heard, that for any city reports that will be forthcoming, that we would be receiving information, and that those discussions, those issues would continue through the 11 standing committees?
That has been the past practice. Again, there have been limited exceptions to that where there was basically what became a debate between the council and the individual that was giving a report. Because of the heavy schedule that's set forth before this meeting, Council President Dieter announced at the 6:45 meeting that it was his suggestion that there not be a Q&A, and no one objected at that time.
Well, I would hate to beat a dead horse, but you're talking about a consistent practice, and I've been asking for 2 years since I've been on council to have a regular commitment from department heads to come in here. And so as that matter is being raised, I find it odd that this is being past practice, and I've been on council for 3 years, and I mean, Catherine may be number 5 that out of all the department heads to present before the council since I've been on council. So again, that's why my confusion is the way it is right now. That's why I asked for a vote, so that we can just go ahead and just say this is how we're going to do it and move on, or this is not how we're going to do it and move on.
Okay, well, my recommendation is a report of city offices will be just that, a report from whoever we ask. One of the council members asks someone to come to the council, and again, if there's follow-up, like Councilmember White alluded to, if they needs to be discussed later within a committee, each committee chairperson has that opportunity.
Second?
Okay.
No.
Point of discussion.
Yes, ma'am.
I would also recommend that this issue be referred to the council rules, because I think it needs full discussion. As you begin to look at the information, there are questions that will come up. And again, we should have a time frame in which the presentation is being made, and then at least give council some opportunity for general questions, and then refer it back to the standing committee. I understand that we have a lot of information tonight, but I do believe that as we look at bringing before the council the various department reports, that we need to have some structure with that, and then we need to refer that back to the standing committees, but still allow some opportunity for input. But then it'll be up to that standing committee to ensure that they schedule those meetings, that those questions are being addressed, and that it comes back to this full body as well.
I understand it, but every council chairperson has the opportunity to do that any time with any person from the city, whoever we want to talk to. As alluded to by Councilmember Davis, I don't think it's right if we want to talk to someone to bring them here publicly and, in his words, grill them.
Well, that's how the city departments feel, because we don't have a relationship with them. That's how they feel.
Point of order, I'm still discussing.
Well,
Thank
go
you very
ahead.
much. So that would be my suggestion, again, if it's someone that any committee chair wants to talk to about any part of the government that they would like to speak upon, that could be done with that. But if you want to, someone wants to make a motion, it goes to the Rules Committee, so that can be set as some type of council, and ask our attorney on that if that needs to be
I'll make a
placed
motion.
into, give me 1 second, placed into the council.
I'll make a motion that we refer this matter to the Rules Committee.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
On readiness really quick.
Yes.
The comment about me saying grill, I said that because there is no relationship between the council and department heads. And so when they come in, they feel like that they're being grilled. It's not that we're grilling them. It's some of a broken relationship and broken communication between council and department heads. So when they come in here, they automatically feel like they're getting grilled. That's why I made that comment.
That's you said it.
I know I said it. I'm clarifying it for you.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. I have a motion to resolve in the Committee of the Whole.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Catherine.
We're now resolving to the Committee of the Whole. This is the time where we discuss the different bills as a council, and then we come together and make a recommendation that we put to the full council at this time. There are some... There were? There are none. So we move forward. Now, at this time, we will hear bill number 7510. Mr. Voight, can you please?
Public hearing on a bill of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, amending sections 2 through 8 and 2 through 10 of Chapter 2, Article 1 of the South Bend Municipal Code, addressing procedures governing the Common Council.
Okay, do we have our committee report?
The Information Technology and the Council Rules Committee had a hearing on Bill 7510 today. It comes to council with a favorable recommendation.
Okay, thank you.
A motion to accept this substitute bill on file with the office of the
Second.
city.
Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same side. Okay, it is carried. At this time, we will have our presenter.
Okay. As one of the co-sponsors, myself, Councilmember White, Councilmember Pizzello, and Councilmember Rouse started this bill. It was filed 7510 on November 17th of 2010. The ordinance establishes reasonable regulations aimed at complying with Indiana State's open door law and public records law by attempting to keep pace with the ever-changing technology innovations and advancements. Since filing the bill, additional discussions have taken place with members of the city administration. Based on those discussions, a review of policies in place in other communities, it becomes apparent that consistent rules should be in place for not only the Common Council, but for all city boards and commissions addressing electronic devices. And I will turn that over to our council attorney to fill in any other things that we need to talk about at this time on this bill.
The only thing I would add is that the proposed regulations would govern all public meetings like the one that you're attending this evening, as well as if you would go to any public meeting of the Board of Public Works or the Board of Public Safety Park Board, where there are uniform rules and regulations in place with regard to the use of iPads and various items like this, that if a member is a member of the quorum for that particular body, that there are regulations in place so that if a member of the public wishes to find out if a member of that quorum took a text message and reviewed it, that could be subject to a disclosure to the public so that you know exactly what that individual received and reviewed as a part of their vote. We worked very closely with the city administration, Mayor Leckie, the legal department. We sent this bill to all attorneys in the city attorney's office that represent any board or commission of the city of South Bend. And we have come forward with a substitute bill that we believe is in compliance with both Indiana's open door law as well as the public records statement.
That concludes my presentation.
Okay. Is there anybody from the public wishing to speak in favor of this bill?
Pardon me, my name is John Hamilton. I live at 913 West Colfax Avenue. I'm a person who lives within the 2nd District. In many ways, the fact that we are dealing with whether or not a member of this body or a member of any other body of the city of South Bend has to be told not to use a text device or some other means by which his attention or her attention is withdrawn from the business at hand is kind of silly. Why is the city involved in preparing an ordinance that effectively institutes by law common civility? It's a sad day, and it unfortunately is reflective of what's happening in our society as a whole. We seem to have lost track of what it is to be a fellow human being. Our political discourse has become toxic. People scream at each other in one form or another, whether it be content of words or even in tone of voice. And that is really too bad. This society needs to come together. We should not have to deal with this kind of loss of respect for each other, but we are. And I would submit that this ordinance must be passed because a message must be sent that common civility is an essential part of our democracy. Without it, we shout at each other, and from shouting can come violence. It is a very sad day. The time of when society was ruled by shame has long since gone. I would like to say one final thing. I'm a retired lawyer. I have seen more than my fair share of rules and regulations, and it can be argued that this country has become so bound up with rules and regulations to control people's conduct that we have lost sight of what it is to be an organized society. We are a village. We are a community. We need to respect each other. And finally, a practical point, if you're busy texting to or from, you can't do the business at hand. If we're telling people that they should not drive while texting, if we know that texting has caused accidents across the country, killing thousands, if not more, then doesn't it make sense to say you can't text, you can't send messages when you're in the middle of doing business, which is the public's business. The public deserves each member's absolute attention to what is going on. Otherwise, why do we have that person as a representative of others in a governmental position? Thank you very much.
Is there anyone else who would like to come and speak in favor of this bill? This time? Seeing none, hearing none, is there anyone who would like to come to speak in opposition of this bill? Please state your name and address.
Rita Capalla, 66559 Ivy Road, Lakeville, Indiana. I've been coming to these meetings for 20 years. All I can tell you is if there truly was public access, if people were well informed to know what's taking place, there wouldn't be a lot of things happening like they do because there would be a shared knowledge. There's one department in this building that has 3 people. One of those people is on equal basis, supposedly half the time doesn't know what's going on there because that's how he's treated. Civility, wonderful. But be honest. Don't you think sometimes when somebody just doesn't want to go along with you, the best way to do is to cut them off and not let them know what's taking place? Let's get some true open meetings, open access to information, and probably won't have a lot of that happening anymore. Thank you. I don't think it's a good law.
Thank you.
Henry Davis Sr., 215 North Sheridan. I think we're being disingenuous. The real truth of the matter is, I think a lot of jealousy has a lot to do with a lot of things we do. He says something about civility. The truth needs to be told about how this came about. Somebody had a misunderstanding about what another council member was doing. Assumed that they were texting. If that person had asked and found out that the one that was texting, he was finding out more about the subject that was at hand. So those things can be a tool. Everybody is not ignorant. People are not stupid enough to sit there and text their buddy while there's a meeting going on. So I think what he said needs to go a long way. We must begin to learn to respect one another. You can't legislate that. You get that at home. Thank you.
Anyone else would like to speak in opposition of this bill? Seeing none, hearing none, the public portion of that. Council members who would like to share their comments, issues? Any others like to share theirs?
Well,
Go ahead. I have one. Go ahead.
I'll go after you. Go ahead.
No, I'm sharing. Go ahead.
Sure. All right.
Then I'll share.
Well, as I will be in full support of this bill, I've made mention about how I felt about this bill because this bill was, and I've said it before, I felt like that it was a personal attack against me. As to the reason why the gentleman, I'm sure he said that's why he was in the 2nd District. However, as we move forward, I hope that we are more in tune to what we can do with our electronic devices as to it relates to public access and working with the public and informing the public through our communicational tools. Obviously, and I'm sure the public is not aware of this, we will be working with the IT department to begin using laptops or iPads during the course of our council meetings, so we won't have this issue ever again when someone's trying to access information to vote appropriately on the subject matter at hand. Again, like I said, I'm not going to vote against it. I just wish that we just didn't try to legislate morality or behavior, but, you know, things get out of hand, and this is how we end up sometimes. So I'm a supporter of the bill.
Thank you. Any others would like to share? One of the concerns that I have with this bill is in section 1P. It says council members and citizens members of any standing committee may not send, receive, view, or uses the conjunction or. And that the concern I have is the word receive, which I shared today, which clearly states that if anybody in this audience or anybody comes in there and you all happen to send me a text or somebody out there sends me a text at this present time, I'm in violation of this bill. I have no control over if somebody from Alabama, Chicago, New York, or any place in this world sends me a text. If I get a text at this present time, the way this is worded in section 1P and the way it is also worded in section, this is section, where is it? Section 2C, it talks about receive again. If you would just receive information, I'm in violation of this as your council person. So while I'm sitting here, even if I have not taken it out, and now today we discussed this, even if I have not taken my cell phone, which I do have on me right now, if my daughter were to text me, which she does almost every time around 9 o'clock, we have long meetings, good night, Daddy, okay? I will be in violation of this because I received a text from my 13-year-old daughter telling me to good night, she's going to bed, because we're in a long council meeting. I would have been in a violation of it. I think we have to be very careful of the word receive, because now if I'm using that, and that's why I said we really need to look at our whole overall plan on this matter. The second issue that I have, it states that, it says the word council. It says finding upon the fact that a council member keeps using the word council. This is for all of the committee members, for all the councils that we have, whether it's redevelopment council, whether they are not considered council members. The wording should be something else that includes them, because we refer to all the other committee members that we govern, whether it's the Public Works as council, we need to work on the wording of that. They should not, throughout this whole thing, we refer to council member, council member, council member. That needs to be looked at upon them. Another issue that I have with this bill, it states that if a person, one of us up here violates it, then it gives us in section 2, it says that we can be issued a private censure, public censure, and everything else. I think we need to consider the fact that we as council members need a proper representation. If we are accused of one of these matters, then we need to make sure that it is clearly understood that we have legal opinion and have legal representation to defend ourselves against any of one of our council members or the city attorney that can bring these charges. It is possible that a council member can bring this charge against one of us. In the political world that we live in, it could be Democrat versus Republican or Democrat versus Democrat or issue or North versus South. We do live in that kind of world. It is possible that a council member can bring another charge against another council member, and it's not clear how they're going to defend themselves. And I would have to go out and get me an attorney to defend myself against another council member who brings it up, because they said I could be privately censured, I could be publicly censured, they can make a vote to put me off, and those kind of things. Now, somebody can have a political clue against Henry Davis or against Oliver Davis or against Karen White and say, you know what, I think they received the message, that we think they did this, we're going to publicly censor them, then we have to go out and get our own attorneys. because we can't use our city attorneys for that standpoint. And I've had, and my council members understand how I feel about that, about something else that happened. I won't even go into that. So this could be totally misused as a game against each other in a political charged issue where you can say, I received this. How do you know if I'm not receiving a text right now? Anybody here can tell I'm not receiving a text, and somebody could ask that. You don't know that. We have vibration. It said put it on vibration. How are we going to say that? So I can say, I need to see yours and check. It also eliminates, it says, those who are medical or police officers in the area, you know, if it happens with one, or will their phones be censored? We have a police officer, we have a firefighter on our staff. Will we get the chance to see their phones? Do we really need to see their phones? And all the violation of public safety that could happen? So we have to consider these kind of things. When it comes to technology, it's not a matter of being disrespectful and everything else. This technology is moving faster than we can almost think, and we need to be very cautious about bringing this before. I think we need to have a little bit more time to look at these kind of issues, to make clear what our legal responses is. Because I'm on the council rules, and I don't know what we might, if Derek Dieter were to come after me, or come after Henry, or come after, if I go after them, what's their response? That's not clear in here. And do we all have our own individual attorneys to defend ourselves? This can be a game that could be played against an individual member. I may not necessarily always agree with Henry Davis, and I voted a lot against each other. But at the same time, I should not try to use this to go after him in a political year to deal with this issue. And those kind of things. Whether I'm supporting him or whether I'm not supporting him, that's not my issue. But if I was in his seat and somebody did this to me in the 6th District, I would have great concerns about this kind of thing. And I think we got to look broader than the whole issue of an individual person or what happened with the text or what we did and how all that could be played in the paper, and look at these kind of things. There's too many loopholes here. If I were to vote for this, and we used my father's the English professor, and I watched the word or and in and all that kind of stuff. And that one will be text message. I cannot vote for it in this present form. So I will be voting against it.
Mr. President.
Yes, ma'am. Go for it.
One, I think, would be very easy to take care of. I haven't had a chance to look at the others, and you spoke too fast for me to realize where they were. But on the first page of the ordinance, at the bottom, section 1P, it uses the word receive.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with you that most people think that receiving is just having it come to them. But it's not even necessary to have that word in there, because view is the next word, and that's what we actually mean. So could we just take receive, at least that one problem?
Well, then you have to pick that off the other section too. It says it in several sections.
There are 2 places. Just remove the word receive.
If I could address Councilmember Davis's, I would make a friendly request that the word receive can be deleted, as Councilmember Puzello suggested, and also on page 4, paragraph C, the word receive, which is identical for the board. To address Councilmember Davis's question with regard to board members versus council members, pages 3 through 4 address all the regulations with regard to any board or commission. So section 249 are the regulations that address those. They're totally separate from the council. That's why you see consistently the word council member in the council portion. For the administration, that's in a totally separate section.
I can live with all those changes. I just think that we also need to include the issue that I have a great concern is how do we protect ourselves? You have a list of what the council can do to challenge that, but where is that in there to deal with that?
With regard to the sanction provisions have been on the books since approximately 1997. None of the sanctions can go forward without a majority vote of the council. So it's not one individual council member. And again, when all of these 7 different sanctions were put in place by the regulations back in 1977, were again updated in 1990, and are proposed to be updated here, it is very specific that the only appropriate response to a potential violation by a council member, if that council member, upon a request of the presiding officer, in this case yourself, Councilmember Davis, And if there is a violation going on of these regulations, if they were in place, the only violation would result in that individual PDA or whatever may be used in violation of the regulations being taken by the city clerk to be kept in the clerk's possession for the remainder of that meeting. That's it.
The only violations.
If you are violating the rules that are being proposed this evening.
But what about these other sanctions here?
Those are what are already on the books right now, and the language that is underlined is to clarify what has been on the books for almost 30 years now, or over 30 years.
But what's underlined, with all due respect, has not necessarily related to this particular issue. And also, I think it needs to also include the ramifications of what a council member can do to defend themselves against these kind of issues. As we move into the technology world and we have these different issues coming up, and we're going to keep ourselves into a 21st century, we also have to keep ourselves into a 21st century when it comes to our legal protection. And would you represent, who would you represent, the council during this particular matter, or would you represent a person, because you're only one person?
Again, as I stated, I believe the only proper potential penalty would be paragraph 5, which is where a council member would refuse upon a request of the president or the presiding officer to stop violating these rules, that they would then be asked to give up that individual device. That's all that we're talking about.
Well, I agree with you on that part of it. Then why can't that be the only sanction and we eliminate the other section there?
All the other things are on the books right now.
Then I have a concern with that being with this issue with that, because of the reason why I have a concern with that is the nature of the reason why this bill is being brought is not only in terms of, I personally agree with Councilman Davis with the issue of how it can be used in that kind of sense. And if we will, when we start looking at doing bills against each other, okay, then we have to have ramifications to protect ourselves for that. Because that, I could get upset, and I've been concerned with other people on my council too. But we have to be very concerned when we utilize our powers to do that. And we have to have something.
Again, the primary purpose of this bill is to make sure that the city of South Bend is not in a situation like many cities throughout the country, in particular in California and the state of Florida, which have similar open records laws and similar sunshine laws, where individuals have taken messages, whether they be of a text message or some other electronic device, in violation of their state laws. This is so that we have rules and regulations that are believed to be reasonable. And I agree with the two recommendations that you have raised with regard to deleting the word receive. I think that further clarifies, because when the discussion took place at the committee level earlier today and at prior meetings, the intent was to receive and take action on it. If you eliminate receive, I think you've eliminated that issue. The other issues that you raised with regard to sanctions, perhaps that's another item that the Council Rules Committee should address. Because the sanctions that have been in the city code were specifically put in place in light of past councils where there was inappropriate behavior.
The last part I would say on this myself, and that is, I don't have a problem if we put sanctions, but I think those of us in council need to have also a recourse in saying what would be our response when sanctions are there. You know, you need to, if you get a ticket, you know what to do. But we as council, we get sanctioned, we are totally limited of what would be our recourse to defend ourselves, because just because somebody says that, we have rights ourselves. And I would like for you to also acknowledge that we would be the first council in the state of Indiana to do this.
That is correct.
Thank you. No other council in the state of Indiana has had to do this.
No, that is many.
Well, no, none of them have voted to do it.
From the research that I've done and in contact with various other cities, many councils are looking into this as we speak.
But none of them have passed it at this present time.
No, we would be the first to the best of my knowledge.
Thank you.
And I'll comment real quickly, because I'm not going to get into another hour-long debate of who, what, why, where, and so on, because I don't want to have to give specifics on things. It's something that's been going on for 18 months, so I appreciate both Councilmember Davis's thoughts and opinion on this. I think that is a good thing just to take the word receive. Again, this is very simple. If you're at a meeting, do not be texting on your cell phone. I don't think we have to get into all these far-examining issues of underlying political ramifications, so on and so forth. If that's the way you feel, that's the way it is. So with that being said, I make a favorable recommendation.
Excuse me, point of order. We would need a motion to specifically delete the word receive in paragraph P as it appears on page 1, and also, as part of that motion, to delete the word receive on page 4, paragraph C.
Also, you stated also the issue regarding council. You talked about that part of it?
That's already in there.
No, in terms of it has to be first to all the other committee members. The other councils, I said to you, is that.
Why don't we take one motion
Tim?
at a time?
Okay.
The motion now is just to delete the word receive in 2 places.
Okay, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
All in second? He seconded. He seconded, Derek. She made, Ann made a motion, and she seconded. Okay, now, the other issue regarding the fact that we kept being referred to as council, we were saying because this applies to all the other boards too?
Again, the proposed regulations on pages 3, 4, 3 and 4, section 4, all pertain to boards and commission public meetings. So it's totally separate.
I understand that, but what I'm saying to you is that when it comes to the word, it keeps referring as council members, so that there's the sanction for the council member, the sanction for that. My only thing was to add the word council and board member or / board because of the fact that it doesn't.
We have totally separate regulations in a separate section for the board members and for the commission.
Explain.
The sanctions are the same, but they're separated by section.
The sanctions, again, each board have their own sanctions.
Each board has their own sanctions?
At the request of the city attorney's office, the only request that was made is that they had the power to impose additional regulations that were not inconsistent with the regulations that would be codified into the city code.
So that was not clear with me. So each board has their own different sanctions?
That's my understanding. Again, this bill was sent to every single attorney in the city attorney's office that represents any board or commission.
Okay. So that's clear.
All right, I move for passage of revised.
Either recommend favorably or...
I recommend favorable recommendation for revised 7510.
Second.
Okay, there's been a move and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Nay. Okay.
I would like to add another area that should be sent to council rules, the issue that Councilman Oliver Davis was mentioning in regards to it when and if we may get into a situation that individual council may need legal counsel. I think that needs to be discussed and should come through the Council Rules Committee because that could happen and has happened in the past. I think we need to have some clarity on what the processes and procedures would be, which really goes along with this bill as well.
I second that. All in favor of moving this to the the Rules Committee to address the issue that Councilwoman White has outlined, say aye.
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 All opposed? It would be moved to the Rules Committee. Thank you. Now for Bill number 8610. Mr. Voight, can you please read?
Public hearing on a bill of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, amending Chapter 14.5, Articles 1 and 2, adding Article 4 of the South Bend Municipal Code addressing affirmative action procedures.
I move that 8610 be accepted as a substitute as amended.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Now, we will have the committee report.
Mr. Chairman, the Community Economic Development Committee met this afternoon and sent substitute bill 8610 to full council with a favorable recommendation.
Okay. Now we have our presenter.
Mr. Chairman, we are delighted to present Substitute Bill 8610 to this council. With the, it's been a work in process. With the cooperation of the city administration, we've made great gains. This bill will revise the codified ordinance 781187, and will do the following things. It creates a 9-member minority business enterprise, women business enterprise utilization board, which would work closely with the diversity compliance officer and the city administration and the Common Council in developing policies aimed at eliminating barriers, promoting diversity, inclusion, and participation when it comes to employment and contracting in the city of South Bend. Developing a mechanism to ensure compliance with federal and state local laws, whereby each January an MBE or WBM participation report would be filed with the Common Council for review and discussion. Annually requiring parties to meet and dissolve how local regulations can be improved in order to seek greater effectiveness, including multiple reference and in footnotes as educational aids to assist outreach programs. With the passage of Substitute Bill 8610, the City of South Bend will have proper mechanisms in place to maximize opportunities and participation for minority-owned businesses and women-owned businesses. We seek your support. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. At this time, we would like to open it up for public discussion, and all those who speak in favor of this bill, please now rise and come and state your name and your address, and you have up to 3 minutes.
Good evening, council members.
5 minutes, sorry.
My name is Reverend Franklin Breckenridge. I am the pastor of Olivet African Methodist Episcopal Church, located at 719 North Notre Dame Avenue, reside at 724 North Notre Dame Avenue. And I rise this evening to express support of 8610 and to urge you as members to adopt the recommendation of the committee. This bill is a looking forward, making action, indeed, that the city of South Bend should be proud to adopt and enforce for all of its citizens, especially the minority business and women business enterprises in this city. So I fully support it and urge you to adopt it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Mayor Leckie, I have to recognize you as mayor of this great and beautiful city. To you, the Common Council, the honorable members of the South Bend Common Council. My name is Cora Breckenridge, and my address is 724 North Notre Dame Avenue. I come before you as a member of the National Board of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, and I rise to give support for this bill 8610. I speak in favor of passage of this bill. I think that Reverend Breckenridge, my husband, has spoken as I would speak, that this is a bill that will certainly bring great pride to this city from persons of color, from women in this city, and indeed for all citizens of this great city. So thank you, and again, my support is for the passage of bill number 8610.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to rise in support of this bill? Please state your name and address.
Good evening. My name is Linda Carter, and my address is 26801 Jean Court, South Bend, Indiana. I am the one of the directors of the Youth Build program. We are an outreach community development program which assists young people throughout South Bend, Michiana area to receive their GED as well as to get construction skills and otherwise. And I'd like to say thank you for the opportunity to share in building up the city of South Bend. Our young people, as well as ourselves as a woman and minority business owner, I feel that there's a little bit of a disconnect at this point with South Bend as a whole. I personally submitted 12 bids to the city for work and received none at this point. I'd like to see that change a little bit, even if it means more communication and what needs to happen in order for minority and women business owners to receive these bids. Just like to see a little more connection, and I think that bill, that 8610 will assist in that matter. And I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to talk with you this evening, and we appreciate the hard work that you do. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tina Prieto, and I live at 1049 East Johnson Road. And I am in support of this bill. I'm very excited about this bill. I hope it brings about a change. I feel, I'm a partner with my partner Linda, who was just here talking about the program we have. It's called IGO Youth Bill. And we work with youth with obtaining their GED, getting a certification in construction. And I am one of the instructors. We give them an NCCER certification, which is a national certification in construction. And they are able to take that anywhere. Fortunately, they stay here in South Bend, and they do a great job with this certification. So I do hope this bill passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Leroy King. My address is 3029 Woodmont Drive. I'm with Granger Community Church, and I'm the director of Monroe Circle Community Center, which is on the corner of Western and Taylor, 526 Western. And we support this bill. We've been partnering, collaborating with Salvation Army, with Buyer Consultants, and different ones in the community to help uplift our community. We feel like we are a catalyst for community transformation. We look to help each individual take their next step to a full and meaningful life. We want to see them empowered and take leadership and ownership in their own community transformation. And that's what we are involved in helping our community do that. And we want to create an environment around our people, around our community that is very supportive, providing mentoring, providing coaching. We love the opportunity that they can get into these jobs and have opportunities for these contracts, but we don't want a handout either. We want to build capacity. We want them to be the best. But we need the opportunity, and this will help. And so I support the Bill 8610.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Kenneth Harper. Excuse me. 57555 Blue Jay Drive, South Bend. I also represent Vice President of the African American Chamber of Commerce of Michiana. I'm really so happy to be here in order to for 8610. I'm a journeyman lineman of 34 years, and I think that these young youth that are sitting on the curb and on the porches will be able to participate in the economic development of South Bend. Is well needed to get into the skilled trades. A lot of those that might not go to college, but they love to put a hammer or a shovel in their hand and participate in the economic growth here. So thank you very much. I support it very well, and I think others will be very happy on the direction that you're going. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Linda Wolfson, and I live at 809 Park Avenue.
I want to make sure that I say to you, I absolutely support the goals of this bill. I sat at the beginning and said, should I speak at the beginning in favor of it, or should I speak at the opposed, because I think that still needs a little bit more to go. And I don't want there to be any confusion about my 100% support for the goals that are put forward in this bill, and my approval for what I see as a process that this is actually the third bill that I've read and tried to understand. I think, as I said to people in the committee meeting a little earlier, I think we're this close. There are a few issues that concern me because I'm active in civic organizations and because I think that many people in this city really care about issues like this and how they're implemented. I want us to have a bill that really truly can be implemented and can meet those goals. There are other ordinances. Ordinances are pieces, are words on pieces of paper. And so we have to both have the ability to enforce them and the will to enforce them. And part of that will comes from the support of the public. One of the areas of concern that I mentioned in the committee meeting is the section that has to do with the actual naming of the people for the diversity board. I think it's a good principle that when elected officials delegate responsibility for important areas of work, they keep a hand on who those people are that are going to be carrying it out. And so I would be in favor of the administration, of the mayor's office and the county council to name all of the members of the diversity board. I'm a little concerned at the questions that were raised about resources. I absolutely agree with Reverend Rouse and his statements about money and that the resources have to be there if it's the right thing, but sometimes the mechanism of how that's carried out is an important part of the process. And I don't want to hear again that we can't do something because there was a problem in how it was designed. And then the final thing, which I don't think belongs in this bill, but it's really equally important, is the question of capacity. And at the hearings that I've been to, I think this is the question of the capacity to fulfill these goals on the part of the minority businesses in particular is something that has to be addressed. It doesn't necessarily have to be addressed through this ordinance, but I think it's equally important to an ordinance that would address questions of purchasing or contracts. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is Gary King, 730 North Hill Street in the 4th District. And I live in an area where I can see there's a lot of work to be done, and I know that this bill will help to make that happen, especially with the people who are actually living in the neighborhoods where the work has to be done. My one concern I mentioned earlier is that some of the regulations alluded to, like Section 40 of the federal regulations and number 24 Code of Federal Regulations, some of these are long and difficult and entail a lot of paperwork, and some people who would love to do the work may be disinclined or find an obstacle in understanding and completing that kind of paperwork. And so I would say to people like Mrs. Wolfson and Mr. Harper who are active in community organizations such as the African American Chamber of Commerce to find ways to get one-on-one with business owners, you know, and talk them through the regulations so that the capacity that Ms. Wolfson referred to, so that there are more businesses, more small corporations that are able to pick up and do the job and so keep our money in the community where it belongs. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Paul Black. I live at 18330 Greenleaf Drive in South Bend, and I am definitely in favor of the passing of this bill. Through something which is happening at the Salvation Army, the Kroc Center. I was introduced as a minority-owned business to that project, and today I have 3 contracts in my possession that I've signed forward. And as I told them then, and I'm telling you now, that there's a lot of people out here that are not looking for handouts and hookups. They're looking for work, and they're looking for opportunity. And I have every bit of confidence that a bill such as this passing in our community will do just that. It will offer people like myself an opportunity to do work and help build this community as some of the primaries that are in the community at this point in time. And it just never, I've been here 20 years in this community, 21 actually this month, and I've never been able to bid on any project. I've never received any work until what's happening at the Salvation Army Kroc Center through Lee Byers, Byers Consulting. That opportunity was generated from that. So I'm 100% behind it, and I'm really hoping that you'll be in favor of it as well.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Have a little more time for the other side? Not? Those who would like to speak from the public in opposition to this bill, please come forward. Seeing none, hearing none, we have the council. We close the public portion and council portion.
Chair.
Yes.
May I? I would just like to thank my fellow council members and also the public for coming out in support of this bill. As a co-sponsor of this bill, I knew that it was incumbent upon us to start working at getting jobs here locally. As everybody's talking about jobs nationally, there was something that, you know, obviously that we could do here at the local level to employ those who necessarily wouldn't have a chance at employment. So I thank the forethought of Councilmember Rouse and Mr. Byers for working so hard and diligently on this particular bill because it was sorely needed. We've talked about the last 23 years of this bill not being enforced, and now it feels like that we have enough teeth in the bill so we can make sure that we get the enforcement out of it so that the people that live in the city of South Bend, who are the minorities, will have an opportunity to bid on such jobs so that they can take care of their families. I would have never thought that this would have gone through the way it has, using the Kroc Center as the catalyst for it, being the fact that, you know, it's a recreational center and we have like 5 or 6 community centers on the west side of South Bend already. But, you know, obviously it's a great deal. You know, obviously God had his plan in place long before I even showed up. And so I will be in full support of this bill. Again, thank you for your leadership, Councilman Rouse, on this particular matter, Mr. Byers. I look forward to employing more people here in the city of South Bend so we can start picking up our neighborhoods and our community. Thank you.
Any other comments? Councilwoman White.
I would like to say that I am proud to be one of the sponsors in terms of Substitute Bill 86-10. I think that this is a great step forward for the city of South Bend. The questions that were posed during the committee meeting, as well as the questions that were posed during the public meeting just shortly, in terms of the utilization board, information that we need to still have from the city of Evansville, the capacity to fulfill the goals, and of course, my main concern continues to be the enforcement of any ordinance that we pass as a council. I would encourage the committee under Pastor Tim Ross' leadership that in 2 weeks that we come back and we begin to report out on the progress of those questions and make sure that we are very transparent as possible, that we communicate back to not only the council as a whole, but to the community as well, and that we begin to start putting some figures together and begin to really formalize the Substitute Bill 86 more formalized, and that we will also make sure that we will continue to move forward. Today is just the beginning. I think we have a great bill that everyone can be proud of, and I do know that it will give opportunities for full participation from our minority-owned businesses and the women-owned businesses, and I'm just proud to be a sponsor of this bill.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, one point came up just a minute. I'm going to defer to the parliamentarian and our lawyer. She has a notation that came up during the committee meeting that she wants to address very briefly with the committee.
In the spirit of continued cooperation with the city administration, I'd like the council to consider the following amendments. The first one would appear on page 6, section 14.5-3, paragraph E5, the very last paragraph that appears. You will see the terms, the Human Rights Office of the Department of Administration and Finance. In light of Ms. DeRosa's comments and also Mr. Douglas's comments this afternoon and their concerns, I would suggest that we delete the words the Human Rights Office of the, so that it would always be Administration and Finance in 3 locations on that page. And also on page 12, section 14.5-12.
Excuse me, Kathy. Excuse me.
Paragraph
Really quick. You're
Yeah.
deleting the Human Rights Office of?
Yes.
Okay.
So that it would always be the Department of Administration and Finance.
Okay.
And again, for the public, the Office of the Human Rights falls within the Department of Administration and Finance, and also the Purchasing Department falls in that office, so that we can continue the dialogue that Councilmember White talked about and with the, I think, the continuing spirit of the give and take that we've had. I think the bill would be better if we remove it in 3 locations on page 6, in 1 location on page 12, in a proper motion to that effect.
So moved.
Second? Well, I'm so used to saying second. Anybody else need to say? I can second it too. Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, that's carried. Anything else to add to that?
Yes, I want to thank Chairman, President Derek Dieter, as he charged me with the responsibility to do some research on this bill, Bill 78-1187. It wound up a process that started on November the 8th. I want to thank the council for their support, the administration. It's been a journey, but I think we've done well with looking for win-win scenarios, and I think we found one. We have a lot of work to do, but I feel very confident that with the work of the legal department, the administration and the council, all the department of public works and all of that, we'll come out as we know we can do. South Bend is a special place. This is a win-win for our city and for our residents. I thank you very much for that opportunity.
Thank you. So very quickly, as also a co-sponsor bill, I'd like to thank Councilmember Rouse and Mr. Byers for all the work, especially our attorney also for all the work. I know there was a lot of meetings off-site, restaurants and places around town to go over some of the language and all the technical aspect of all the things that go into getting this document together. Again, for everyone in the council, their support for Tim doing all the work and doing that, especially all the people that have businesses in here. We're glad we can help out. Any other things that come up, be sure to call us, anyone on the council. Hopefully we can get everybody in the community to take advantage of this, and it should be a good thing for the city as a whole. So we appreciate everyone's support and coming for this. Is that any?
You know, one thing I wanted to add, and I think we still not talking about the vendors. We keep talking about construction, we keep highlighting construction, but the vendors as well deserves a role in this bill, and they have a role in this bill. And I just wanted to get that out there because we keep talking about construction, but it has everything to do with vendors who are selling paper or, you know, cleaning supply or what have you. So it's just not one-sided as construction. It's, you know, it's multifaceted. And Kathy, thank you. You did a lot of work.
It's true. Mr. Chairman, in that regard, Mr. Paul, I've heard a lot about you. I know you're in the technology business, the buyers and Salvation. They kept telling me that we're going to introduce you to him. You know, this is the first time I've seen you tonight. I'm glad that's a good example of what you were referring to, Mr. Davis, is that that young man is in the communication technology business and a professional in that regard. So Lee Byers wasn't being distruthful. You do exist. He had promised a meeting about 5 times. We never met, but I'm glad to see you here tonight.
Welcome. Yes. I'll move for a favorable recommendation as amended.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? It is carried. Okay.
So I want to make sure
Yes.
that my suggestion in terms in 2 weeks that we come back and that we'll continue to move forward, that those issues will be addressed. So I don't want to lose sight of that as well.
Mr.
I want to
Chair-
have to put it in form of motion, but
No,
it's
I understand. I was just, the chairman of that committee is Mr. Pastor Rouse.
Yes, and we will do that, knowing Ms. White, Council Lady White. She knows it's going to happen because she'll call you and let you know. But yes,
Okay, fine.
I commit to that publicly and come back in 2 weeks.
Our chairman has committed to that publicly, and we'll be bringing up a report in 2 weeks. Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty, thank you for that note. Now we have bill number 1111.
Public hearing on a bill of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, amending Section 2-59 of the South Bend Municipal Code addressing the South Bend Advisory Commission on black males.
Thank you. We'd like to have a committee report.
Mr. Chairman, the Community Economic Development Committee met this afternoon and sends Bill 1111 to full council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. And also, could you then present the bill, please?
Thank you. It's a proposed revision to the 1998 ordinance on the South Bend Commission on African American males. Council members, I'm sponsoring the attached proposed ordinance in the interest of updating the 1998 ordinance which established the Commission on African American Males. I have had the opportunity to meet with representatives of the state of Indiana's Commission on the Social Status of Black Males. In light of those discussions, that it may become it is apparent that our local ordinance needs to be updated and streamlined so that it may become energized to carry out the mission. Currently, there are similar commissions operating in Fort Wayne, Evansville, Bloomington, Michigan City, Gary, Muncie, and Anderson, and Jeffersonville, as well as Indianapolis. Some of the key changes recommended for your consideration include reducing the number of members from 25 to 15. That was a big stumbling block in the success of our commission. It was hard to get a forum. Having members appointed from areas which are similar to the commissions in other Indiana cities, which have been more involved and focused on their mission of recommending ideas and potential remedies to address the critical social problems facing the black male population. Developing a working relationship between the South Bend Commission, other city commissions, and the state of Indiana's commission. Having a member from the Youth Advisory Council sit on the commission. I recommend that this bill be sent to the Community Economic Development Committee for review and recommendation, which we have done. And we present a revised Commission on the Social Status of Black Males to this body and hope that we will pass it tonight with these revisions and move forward. Now, there's going to be some MOUs, Memorandums of Understanding, that will answer to the South Bend Common Council. I do need to tell you that one of the individuals who is interested in becoming a sponsor of sorts, an umbrella of sorts, is Carl Nichols, who is the chair of the Indiana Minority Health Coalition. Mr. Nichols was planning on being here tonight, but he called mid-morning and was coming back from Texas. His stepson has been diagnosed with leukemia. But he will be back in the area tonight, late, and is very supportive of becoming a driver for the bill. One of the problems we had before was that there was no support mechanism, no budget for this commission. However, there were people who worked very hard. Mr. Lynn Coleman was the chairman, and the council representative for years, who was very attentive, was none other than Roland Kelly. with the revisions, I'm sure that we'll be more successful and make an impact on the black male community here in the city of South Bend. So I ask for your passage of this resolution.
Thank you. At this time, we would like to hear from the public. Those who speak in favor of this bill, please stand and come and share your name and address. Seeing none, hearing none. Those who would like to speak in opposition of this bill, please come and share your name and address. Seeing none, we'll close the public portion and we move it back to the council portion.
Move for favorable recommendation.
Second.
It's been moved and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? It is carried. Thank you. Now we have Mr. Vorty to read Bill number 1211.
Public hearing on a bill of the Common Council of the City of South Bend amending annexation ordinance number 9565-05 to specifically include a landowner in German Township, namely Fiskars Property, Inc., whose property was described in ordinance number 9565-05, but who was not named therein.
Thank you, Mr. Vorty. We now have a committee report.
Yes, we do, Mr. President. The Zoning and Annexation Committee met this afternoon and sends Bill number 1211 to the full council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you so much. Now, for our presenter, please state your name and title.
Good evening, Michael DeVita, planner with the City's Department of Community and Economic Development with offices on the 12th floor of this building. This bill is presented to correct two discrepancies within an annexation ordinance passed by the Common Council in 2005 and to eliminate any confusion over the incorporation status of the property at 23914 Brick Road. The bill would amend Ordinance 9565-05, a fully voluntary annexation under which properties near Brick and Cleveland Roads were annexed. That ordinance's legal description annexed 3 properties to the city. However, only 2 of the property owners had formally petitioned for that annexation. As part of the proposed ordinance here, Fiskars Properties, the 3rd property owner, has offered its consent to annexation as if it had been an original petitioner. This bill then amends the annexation ordinance by 1, adding Fiskars Properties as a petitioner for the voluntary annexation, and 2, correcting the acreage of the annexation area from 1.03 acres to 1.67 acres. As we discussed at the committee meeting this afternoon, this bill would not alter the provisions of the fiscal plan under which this 0.37 acre vacant lot was annexed. That concludes my presentation, but I'd be happy to answer any questions the council may have.
Okay. Any questions from council at this time? Not? We will then hear from the public. Those who would like to speak in favor of this from our public, please come forth. Seeing none, those who would like to speak in opposition to this bill, please come forth at this time. Seeing none, we'll close the public portion and come back to the council.
Move for favorable recommendation.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? It is carried. I'd like to have a motion to rise.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? It's done. Thank you.
Full council's now in session. Mr. Vorty, 3rd reading, 7510, please.
3rd reading on a bill of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, amending sections 2 through 8 and 2 through 2-10 of Chapter 2, Article 1 of the South Bend Municipal Code addressing procedures governing the Common Council.
Motion to amend as it was in the Committee of the Whole.
So moved.
Second. Motion second. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
And opposed? Now I have a motion on the amended version of 7510.
Move to the passage of, it was substitute as amended, 7510. To the passage.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Vorty, read the roll.
Mr. Henry Davis.
Aye.
Mr. LaFountain.
Aye.
Mrs. Puzzello.
Aye.
Dr. Varner.
Aye.
Vice President Oliver Davis.
Nay.
Mr. Kursitz.
Aye.
Councilmember Rouse.
Aye.
Councilmember White.
Aye.
President Dieter.
Aye.
8 ayes, 1 nay.
Thank you. 8610, please.
Third reading on a bill of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, amending Chapter 14.5, Articles 1 and 2, adding Article 4 of the South Bend Municipal Code addressing affirmative action procedures.
Move for the substitute bill to be passed.
As amended.
As amended, I'm sorry, as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those in opposition, thank you. Now, I motion for the amended version of 8610.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Forty.
Mr. LaFountain.
Aye.
Mrs. Puzzello.
Aye.
Dr. Varner. Vice President Oliver Davis.
Aye.
Mr. Kursitz.
Aye.
Councilmember Rouse.
Aye.
Councilmember White.
Aye.
Mr. Henry Davis.
Aye.
President Dieter. 9 ayes.
1111.
Third reading on a bill of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, amending Sections 2-59 of the South Bend Municipal Code addressing the South Bend Advisory Commission on Black Males.
Move for the passage of Bill 11-11.
Second.
Mr. Forty.
Mrs. Puzzello.
Aye.
Dr. Varner.
Aye.
Vice President Oliver Davis.
Aye.
Mr. Kursitz.
Aye.
Councilmember Rouse.
Aye.
Councilmember White.
Aye.
Mr. Henry Davis.
Aye.
Mr. LaFountain.
Aye.
President Dieter.
Aye.
9 ayes.
Thank you. Let's proceed to 1211.
Third reading on a bill of the Common Council of the City of South Bend amending annexation ordinance number 9565-05 to specifically include a landowner in German Township, namely Fiskars Properties, Inc., whose property was described in ordinance 9565-05, but who was not named therein.
Move for passage of Bill 12-11.
Second. Mr. Forty.
Dr. Varner.
Aye.
Vice President Oliver Davis.
Aye.
Mr. Kursitz.
Aye.
Councilmember Rouse.
Aye.
Councilmember White.
Aye.
Mr. Henry Davis.
Aye.
Mr. LaFountain.
Aye.
Mrs. Puzzello.
Aye.
President Dieter.
Aye.
9 ayes.
Proceed to resolutions. Bill 1123, please.
A resolution of the Common Council of the City of South Bend approving a petition of the Board of Zoning Appeals for the property located at 324 West Garst Street, South Bend, Indiana 46601.
Committee report.
Yes, Mr. President, the Zoning and Annexation Committee met this afternoon, and after weighing the pros and cons of Bill number 1123, send it to the full council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you, sir. Great report. Mr. Lyons.
Mark Lyons, the Building Department Office at 125 South Lafayette Street. This is a special exception request for a telecommunications tower. It was heard at the March 2nd, 2011 meeting of the Area Board of Zoning Appeals. It is a request to add an additional cell tower at 324 Garst Street. They did file for some variances at the same time, one of those being from 200 to 240 feet in height, from the monopole to lattice type tower, and to have no landscaping along the south existing line of their complex. It comes to unanimous favorable recommendation. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, thank you, sir. We have a presenter with a short synopsis of your project, please.
My name is Carrie Wallace. I work for Charles S. Hayes Incorporated. Our office is located at 814 Marietta Street in South Bend. We are here today to petition to build for a special use, to build a 240-foot lighted telecommunication tower at 324 West Garst Street in South Bend. The reason why we're asking this evening is because of the fact that Verizon Wireless would like to locate here. We would like to accommodate them because we do not have the capacity on the existing tower. This is a very important location for us because the state police is there. We accommodate the local and county police, as well as 3 additional cell phone companies and a paging company and an internet service provider. We have we've gotten together with Rich Carlton from Data Realty. He contacted us some time ago about getting together to see what services we can provide for him, and we plan to get together with him in a couple weeks to further that conversation. So if you would like to go over the site plan again, I'd be happy to do that. Otherwise, that's why we're here this evening, and we respectfully ask that you approve our petition.
All right, thank you very much. Have anyone like to speak in favor of 1123? In opposition? Council, may I have a recommendation?
Move for the passage of the bill 1123.
Second.
Mr. Vorty.
Vice President Oliver Davis.
Aye.
Mr. Kursitz.
Aye.
Councilmember Rouse.
Aye.
Councilmember White.
Aye.
Mr. Henry Davis.
Aye.
Mr. LaFountain.
Aye.
Mrs. Puzzello.
Aye.
Dr. Varner.
Aye.
President Dieter.
Aye.
9 ayes.
Thank you. 1124, Mr. Vorty.
A resolution of the Common Council of the City of South Bend designating a certain area within the City of South Bend, Indiana, commonly known as 1807 Alfton Court, as a residentially distressed area for purposes of a 5-year residential real property tax abatement for Robert F. and N. Maria Berger.
Mr. Chairman, the Community Economic Development Committee met this afternoon in discussion of 1124, and without much discussion or debate, we send it to full council for passage.
Thank you, sir. Presenter, we need your name and address and just a very, very, very simple synopsis will do, sir.
Thank you, Council President, Mr. Dieter, and the council members. My name is Bob Berger, and my wife, Maria. We live at 1617 Provincial Drive. We intend to construct a 2,300 to 2,500 square foot single-family home. The home will be 8 rooms, 2.5 bathrooms. The cost of the home is expected to be between $275,000 to $325,000. Although the economic development did raise another 12.5% higher to cover additional costs in case it gets higher than we think. Total tax to be abated in a 5-year abatement are estimated to be $6,068 at the $275,000 level and $2,346 at the $360,000 level. Total taxes to be paid in the 5-year abatement period estimated to be $9,310 in the $270 level and $17,000 in the $360,000 level. It should be noted that the existing tax abatement on 1807 Alfton Court was granted through confirming resolution number 364406 on September 25, 2006. The abatement was granted to ROJO Development Incorporated, which we understand is no longer in business. We do not expect to complete the construction of our home before the current abatement expires on September 10, 2011. For this reason, we have submitted a new application.
Thank you, Coach Berger.
Wow. You're welcome.
Anyone like to speak in favor of 1124? Or opposition? Council?
Move for passage of 1124.
Yes, sir,
Really
Mr. Davis.
quick. Coach, I felt like I was back in the locker room. And
Well, I'll tell you, Henry, it's good to see you again.
It's great to see you as well.
And I was just talking to your father, and he said Stacy's your sister,
Yes,
too. And I
Stacy's
kind
my
of didn't get
sister.
that relationship.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah. and also, if you need somebody to be a stowaway in that huge house that you're getting ready to build, hey, consider me.
We have a room right there for you,
Thank
Henry.
you, sir.
We really
Thank
do.
Second.
Mr. Vorty?
Mr. Kursitz.
Aye.
Henry.
Yeah, he made the motion.
You seconded. This was somebody over
Yeah,
here.
I made the
said
motion.
Mr. Kursitz.
Councilmember Rouse.
Aye.
Councilmember White.
Aye.
Mr. Henry Davis.
Aye.
Mr. LaFountain.
Aye.
Mrs. Puzzello.
Aye.
Dr. Varner.
Aye.
Vice President Oliver Davis.
Aye.
President Dieter.
Aye.
9 ayes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
We good?
I was the first one out of the box.
Okay.
Mr. Vorty, let's proceed to first reading of 1411.
First reading on a bill to vacate the following described property. The alleys to be vacated are described as the first east-west alley south of Cedar Street between Hill Street and St. Louis Boulevard, approximately 344 feet. The first north-south alley east of Hill Street between Cedar Street and Madison Street, approximately 410 feet.
Move that Bill 1411 be sent to Public Works Property Vacation Committee, be set for second and third reading and public hearing on 4/25.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Those in opposition, Mr. Vorty, 1511.
First reading on a bill amending the zoning ordinance for property located at 4124 Old Cleveland Road, South Bend, Indiana, 46628, Councilmanic District 1 in the city of South Bend, Indiana.
Move that Bill 15-11 be sent to area plan.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposition on that, seeing none, let's go to 1611.
First reading on a bill of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, amending ordinance number 9967-09A to readjust certain distributions for calendar year 2009 within Community Development Fund number 212.
Move that Bill 1611 be set for second reading, public hearing, and third reading on 4/25 and sent to the Community and Economic Development Committee.
Second. Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposition, seeing none. 1711, Clerk Vorty.
First reading on a bill of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, appropriating $157,000 received from the U.S. Department of Justice for the Weed and Seed Program.
Move that Bill 1711 be sent to Community and Economic Development Committee, be sent for second, third reading and public hearing on 4/25.
Second. A motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? 1811.
First reading on a bill of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, amending various articles and sections of Chapter 6 of the South Bend Municipal Code pertaining to building fees.
Move that Bill 1811 be sent to Public Works Property Vacation Committee, be set for second, third reading and public hearing on 5/9.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Any unfinished business before this council? Any new business before this council?
Yes, Mr. President. I would like to say thank you to my fellow council members. I love our democracy. I appreciate tough and stiff talk. I really do. I think that helps us grow. It's natural to disagree, and I know that, and I like to disagree sometimes. I like to agree sometimes. So I really, really like the conversation that we've had today, and I hope that we can continue on with this momentum. Two things really quick. Enforcement of loud car stereo systems, 700 block of Huey. Can we either A, have a letter written to the South Bend Police Department about their enforcement of loud car stereos, or have some sort of committee hearing about that? I have a gentleman, well actually it's two now, obviously one has come into the council floor and addressed us about this particular issue. I've called the police department I don't know how many times about this, and he continues to come back and talk to me about this situation. I don't live on the 700 block of North Huey Street, but I believe what he's saying. So I think that we probably need to look at the numbers as far as tickets being written for loud car stereo systems and see what is being done on that enforcement issue. I understand his point. He's written down times. I mean, he gave me a log of times when this happens all through the day. And I think we really need to look into it because it is it's a matter of health and public safety. Getting woken up late at night, 12 o'clock, midnight, 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, that's not fun. And I would probably have the same issues if that was in my neighborhood with my 2-year-old. So I think it needs to be addressed. So I'm asking, do we write a letter or do we set up a public meeting?
Oh, I believe, I'll talk to you after that. I believe I've talked to that person, and I'll get the information from you. Is it about cars or is it a house in general?
It's about a car with a booming system.
Okay.
So it's about cars in that area who obviously they probably can't hear at this point. So they have to
I believe I know who you're talking to, and
I think that number's come up several times, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. So, Councilmember White, would you willing to hear this in your committee or no?
No problem.
No problem.
My committee is a very busy committee, and I'm glad you brought that up because I was talking with the council attorney. I don't know if all council members receive the report that's coming out of the ordinance department, and so that I have asked that we would have a report to see the number of violations that have been written, the monies that have been received. I have no problems having this come up before the committee.
Okay, so do we set the next council meeting, which is the 25th of April?
Our next council meeting, we've already identified, hopefully we have enough time for that meeting. We will be receiving, it's a special meeting, I'm sorry, Councilman Davis,
Sure.
to really receive a more comprehensive report from the administration in regards to a citywide approach towards graffiti.
Okay.
And that's going to be on the Wednesday, I believe it's the 27th, which is
Okay.
before our regular meeting.
Sure.
Yep, so
So, yes, no, yes.
squeeze it in.
Okay.
No problem.
On the same day, the 27th?
That's after our regular
That's what I'm
scheduled
saying, so
meeting.
you want the 25 or 27?
Let's do the 25th.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't think I have anything on my committee meeting. I do? Okay.
Yeah, and it's Dingus Day.
And we'll be here.
Yeah, I know.
We'll be working.
The last thing, really quick, I would like to figure this one out, and I need the fellow council members' help. We have the same meeting dates at the South Bend Community School Corporation. I have had that for a number of years. Today, I thought that would be a really, really good day that the news and media showed up to make sure that what happened with the jobs bill would be sent out to, people who watch the news. And so since we continue to run into these pitfalls, because they obviously have something big going on over there as well, I would like to look at changing either our date or getting them to change their date. So we are two governmental entities working for the community. I'm sure there are people that would love to be at the council meeting but can't be at the council meeting because at the school board meeting and vice versa. And so I'm looking for that conversation to begin. And I don't mind putting it through my committee because my committee handles, obviously we have that ordinance there to start working with the school corporation in such matters. So.
In years, Councilmember Davis, when I was on the South Bend School Board of Trustees, they did not meet the same time that the council, and somehow they made a decision to change the meetings. And I think it is important that we have the collaboration. So again, I don't know at what level that conversation, or who should have that conversation with the superintendent of schools or the school board. But
Bless you.
Would you like to start that conversation?
Well, I'm going to ask real quick. Maybe just write a letter first. We'll write a letter first and ask them if they're interested, and then we'll move forward from that point on.
President.
Would you draft a letter for me,
It goes to
please?
the president.
Great, thank you. I'm done.
Thank you. Any other business?
I would just like to announce that you will be getting an email from me. I have been notified, and I've also visited myself the corner of Olive and Western Avenue does finally have the turning signal that has been we voted on a couple of years ago, and now you can make a left turn on to Olive Street there. We've been working with Father Chris and St. Adalbert's for that for a long while, and that has finally started to work last week. And so Deacon Irv, our former council person who held this seat, had been working on that prior to me, and our goal is to have him come out to have a special dedication with the church. So that has been his issue. So we're going to be organizing that. Okay. So you hear that with me, because he and I, that was one of the things I wanted to make sure he got accomplished.
All right. Thank you. Privilege of the floor. Anyone wants to talk to the council this time about something we haven't discussed in the last hour and 50 minutes? You can step up the podium, leave your name and address. You have 3 minutes. Seeing none, we're adjourned.
Yeah, he and I have been 2 months finished that.
Yeah. I bet you enjoyed it.
I think he's got nerves. I said I've been working with him. No? Yeah, I know. He and I on Facebook. Yeah, we sitting.
We're going to drive in Buddy's Studebaker.
I'm going to get. I got to get the new. First, they followed
God bless you.
I thought all of
Yeah, I got to get him to be there because we were hoping to get it while Father Christmas here so he could get it done.
Yeah.
And, but at least I'm going to talk to them, so I'm organizing that and I'll send you a note.
Everybody dropped their phone in the basket. Give out phone number to everybody. If you want to get a hold of us.
Are those billboards up?
Yeah, they've been up. Western, Dundee, and then the one on Lincoln one. Yeah, that issue. I've been calling about making sure the lights are on. Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know.
But are they?
I don't know. They didn't call me back. They called me back and told me that they do it. So I would assume that they are. I'll have. I would have voted with me. I would have voted with me.
I understand.
You know, and your point is well taken as far as some of the procedures, because as far as the council rules, when there's formal complaints, they haven't been looked at for 20 years.